Thank you all for joining us today for the Workforce Indicators at Your Fingertips webinar. And today's webinar will focus primarily on the QWI Explorer tool during the hands-on portion of the webinar. But before we go into that, let's go ahead and look at what we'll be covering today. So we'll be looking at, of course, giving you an overview of the LEHD program and the LED partnership, which is part of that program. Also looking at making sure everyone has a clear understanding of our North American Industry Classification System, also our geography. Actually, I ended up taking that out, so I'll have to adjust that when I send out the presentation. We will look at some of the other tools that are available, even though our focus will be on the QWI Explorer tool and some additional resources that are out there. So the LEHD program itself was basically created so that it could look at all this longitudinal data that we have and combine it with our jobs data, looking at jobs data, also looking at household data from our surveys, and be able to basically mash all this data up and produce these incredible data tools to allow the public to access this data 24/7. And that's basically the nutshell of the LEHD program and sort of the inception of the LEHD program. Now, the LED partnership is actually the agreement with the states and the Census Bureau that basically allows the states to provide that data to the Census Bureau through this agreement, through the LED partnership, to look at the data, look at the firm data and the jobs data that they can provide us. So that agreement started in the late 1990s, and some of the states were a little bit slow to jump on board with that. And so, for example, Arizona only goes back to 2004. Alaska has currently opted out of the program, so we're not producing current data for Alaska. And although Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands have not opted out, we're not producing data for those areas either. But for all other states, you would be able to get data, and you could still get data looking at the previous data that's available through our data tools in the past. So the great thing about the LED partnership, the LED program itself, is that we are able to look at unprecedented detail about America's jobs, workers, and local economies. So we are looking at the longitudinal record of U.S. employment. And the other real benefit of this is that we're using existing data from the state-supplied administrative records. And this basically amounts to no new respondent burden as a result of getting this data, combining all this data that already exists. But ultimately, it is part of our goal to have open data available. There's all this open data that is available through the government, and this is part of the goal to make that data more accessible to the public. So we do combine the state records with the Census Bureau data, and we also add in other federal agency data from OPM. For example, we can look at firms and establishments, jobs and workers, and we can also see cross-tabulations with firm and person characteristics as well. And as I mentioned, there is no new respondent burden as a result of combining all this data together. So when you look at what's going into the well-oiled LEHD machine, you're looking at, as far as the firm data, you're looking at the quarterly census of employment and wages combined with that economic survey data as well as the business register. All that is going into our firm data. As far as the jobs data, you're looking at the unemployment insurance wage records as well as the OPM data. And there are some caveats to that I will discuss here in a second. And then for the household data, you've got the federal records as well as demographic census survey data. All that mashes into that LEHD program to create our public use data products, which we have some really amazing data products. like the on the map, as well as the on the map for emergency management. Of course, the quarterly workforce indicators we'll be looking at today as far as that tool is concerned, and also the job-to-job flows tool. There's also a new tool, which I'll discuss here further. But we also have to know that the jobs data covers 95% of the private employment for most state, local, and federal jobs. It does contain only those unemployment insurance covered jobs, so of course no post office, military, self-employed, etc. It does exclude those three-letter agencies, those clandestine agencies, so NSA, FBI, CIA, etc. Employment and wages is measured at the start of quarter 2, and the distance when you're looking at the tool, the on-the-map tool, just to note is that it is a straight line, so it's as the crow flies. It's not going to actually indicate the way that someone is traveling specifically to get to and from the place where they live to the place where they work. It'll just give you that distance and direction as a straight line. The on-the-map tool currently has a 2-digit NAICS in the data now. We are working on the 3-digit. QWI, on the other hand, does have the 4-digit NAICS in there. If you're not familiar with what the NAICS system is, the North American Industry Classification System, I do like to make sure people do have a clear understanding what the NAICS codes are, since that is the primary dimension in which our data is tabulated in regard to industries. So for the North American Industry Classification System, which launched in 1997 as part of NAFTA, these codes are hierarchical. They are updated and are updated every 5 years in years that end in 2 and 7. And we also have an economic census, a quinquennial census, which occurs every 5 years, that coincides with these updates. So you'll notice that the main sector code would be a 2-digit code, which would be 45, and you see here in the example. The subsector code would be 451. That's your 3-digit code, and the 4-digit goes into an even greater detail of that sector. The industry group, 4511. And then you go further into detail with the 5-digit and the 6-digit codes. So the QWI will allow us to look at the 2, the 3, and the 4-digit NAICS codes. You can get more information on NAICS by going to our very own NAICS webpage in census.gov. We have the manual, the new 2017 NAICS manual, which you can download directly, and you can even use our keyword search. I would caution you when doing a keyword search, you will get vastly different results if you add a plural to your word or if you remove the plural. So if I type toy versus toys, I'm going to get different results, and I would recommend just using the singular versus the plural when doing that keyword search. It is quite finicky that way. So now getting into the public tools, the tools that we really love using, and the QWI, which we're going to focus on today, does have those 32 quarterly workforce indicators in there. Does have a really great pivot table map chart interface. So it's got a very, very easy to use and simple interface. It's quite clear. There's some neat tricks in there that I'll show you once we go online. But the beauty of the QWI tool is not just looking at the data, but actually being able to download it, create reports. You can share it on social media, get a bookmark. There's lots of flexibility within the tool itself. There's some really neat things that you can do with the QWI Explorer. So lots of analysis that you can complete, and you're looking at some pretty recent data in terms of the timeliness and the currency of the data. You can look at data at the national, at the state, and at the county level. There's also data available for metropolitan statistical areas as well. For the on-the-map tool, part of the LEHD, this will be a webinar we'll do next week. I will cover in a lot more depth and detail this specific tool. But this is another great tool. This is another one of my favorites that allows data users to look at where workers live and where they work, conduct 5 different types of analysis, which include area profiles, distance and direction, as well as inflow, outflow of an area. And all that can be based on where workers live or where they work, except for the inflow, outflow, which would be for both. So there's also some interesting categories that you can look at in regard to age, earnings, race, ethnicity, educational attainment, and sex. And you can upload shape files, you can select geographies, you can actually go ahead and create your own geography as well using a polygon drawing tool, which makes that really easy. And you can create buffer, rings, all kinds of really incredible things that you can do with the On the Map tool. There's also the On the Map for emergency management. So when a disaster area is declared as a federal disaster area, it is uploaded into this tool, and federal emergency management agencies or emergency management agencies can go in there and get instant access to American Community Survey data, which will provide a lot of the characteristics, social, demographic, housing, economic, that will really allow these agencies to determine what sort of needs in those areas exist. So it's another really great resource for combining survey data with real-time data from our federal emergency management agencies. There's also the LED extraction tool. I will show you that we will look into this tool, and we do go online because you are looking at this is part of that quarterly workforce indicators. So I always make sure that we kind of take a look at this one. So the quarterly workforce indicator Explorer tool, the QWI Explorer tool, allows you to look at this interface and visualize the data. If you just want to get the data and go and not use the data tool itself, the QWI Explorer, you can actually use this extraction tool, which will give you the same data you can get and allow you to specifically choose what you want and download it into CSV files. There's also the Job-to-Jobs Explorer tool, which is a great way of looking at worker reallocation across all the states through 40 different measures of different industries, worker characteristics as well. So there's a lot of great things about the Job-to-Jobs Explorer tool you can look at, lots of great functionality and some really great visualization modules within this tool as well. Filling the gap of looking at where jobs are going, where they're coming from, and in what industries. As far as the newest tool, we have the post-secondary employment outcomes. This is in its beta form. This is a brand new tool that just came out recently, and it's using data from University of Texas and Colorado, who have agreed to provide the U.S. Census Bureau with their administrative records so that we can look at the postgraduates data and how it pertains to income and other sort of earnings as well, characteristics as well. So when choosing the LED products, noting that for the QWI, it's very recent current information, or the most current in terms of these different data tools. However, there is no geography below the county level and no residential information. So as far as the loads data, that's the annual time resolution, less detail as far as characteristics are concerned, but you can get down to that low-level geography. You can get down to the block level with the On the Map tool. And for the job-to-jobs, no worker characteristics by firm characteristics except for geography, and no geography below states currently. So currently we have APIs only for the QWI Explorer tool, which is why that particular data is also inputted into our Census Business Builder tool. And then you have, right now, we have the raw data download for the On the Map for emergency management, Job-to-Jobs Explorer, as well as the PSEO visualization tool. Future development of that API is in the works. Okay. We do have some useful walkthrough scenarios for the QWI, some analysis guides for job-to-jobs, as well as other tutorials for the On the Map available. And really the main thing to understand here is that the LED partnership does provide unique workforce information analysis tools at a relatively low cost, which is even better for the data users out there because that cost for you to use these tools is free. 24/7 access to be able to access this data whenever you need it. So we do always like to promote some of the other ways that you can get data, which is through our newsroom for current updates, any releases that we have, any new data releases. Always you can check out our newsroom page. You can even subscribe to get updates for various topics. So if you just want to get updates on a particular topic like employment or business or population or race, ethnicity, whatever it may be, whatever that topic, veterans, you can actually subscribe just to get data updates just for those particular topics of interest. We also have the Director's Blog, Stats for Stories, and America Counts. The Stats for Stories and America Counts are really great to look at because in these stories, we will create visualization tools specifically for articles that are used or posted in these different platforms. So you can actually see some great visualization tools that we have created solely and specifically for these stories. We do ask that you share you share your or you like us and join us on the social media platforms that we have. We are always constantly releasing information through our social media platforms, so you can share your feedback through our social media platforms. You can check out some of our great videos on our YouTube channel. We have data gems and webinars and lots of other great instructional videos, promotional videos as well. It's also a way to communicate with us. We do have a team that does respond to our social media platforms. And then the newest data dissemination platform we have is Census Academy, which will have its full official launch on May 14th. Right now, you can get access to it now to look at the webinars, of course. Sign up for any more of these webinars that are coming out. We're adding more as time goes on, along with different recordings. We'll have courses coming. We currently have a handful of courses available. We'll have even more available as time goes on. And it's still an easy way to request free training and also respond with any data inquiries you may have. And that is my contact information, so if any of you reside in Hawaii, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Nevada, or 13 counties in the Dallas-Fort Worth MSA, you're welcome to contact me directly. I can provide free training and assistance to teach you how to access census data on a myriad of different topics. There are many. There are lots of different programs and surveys out there. We collect a lot of data throughout the year. I'm more than happy to assist you with navigating your way through our website. And also, if you're outside of those states, you can reach out to me or use that toll-free number, 1-844-ASK-DATA or census.askdata@census.gov to also request free training and get assistance when you need it. Okay, so before we go online, I'm going to go ahead and open up the line for any questions that we may have.
The conference is now in talk mode.
So do we currently have any questions? No questions. I have a quiet audience today. Okay. All right. Well, I guess you guys are all eager to go online. That must be it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and mute the lines right back. And then, as I said, if you have any questions at all throughout the online demonstration, please don't hesitate. Just hit *6. That will unmute your line, and then *6 will mute it right back.
Conference is now in silent mode.
So on Census.gov, you may notice that we've had a recent update, a refresh, you could say, that took our little tiny search box that we used to have in the top right corner, and they granted me a wish because I've been asking them to increase the size of that search box for a long time, and now there it is. We have this great new search box where you can go ahead and do your searches in here, because oftentimes when people are looking for data, the first place they go to is inevitably a different search engine website. Won't say which one, but I'm sure you all could guess which one is most commonly used. And unfortunately, that doesn't always work great for census data. It may work great for a lot of other things, but not specifically census data all the time. I often recommend that if you are coming to our website, I would encourage you to use our search bar up here when looking for specific data. Now, to get to the QWI tool itself, there are some really easy, there's a couple of easy ways you can go now into the employment topic right here. If you click on employment and you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to see QWI is listed right there, first one listed under data. Okay, so you can click right there. It'll take you underneath. You'll see on the map and on the map for emergency management. And if you click view all data, it'll give you a list of all the other data tools specific to the LHD or employment, I should say, for this particular topic. So we're going to go ahead and click on the QWI Explorer link there. And I'm going to go ahead and increase my view here for you all. Make that a little better. And hopefully that looks good for everybody. So you'll notice the great thing about the QWI tool is that it actually, immediately when you go into this tool, it's giving you data. So that was one of the great things that I thought was included in this tool as far as its functionality. So the moment you get into this tool, you've already got data. Now, it may not be for the geography of your choosing, but you can easily change that by going over here to your geography level and selecting either the United States if you want to see the same default characteristics of what we're looking at right now. So it will go ahead and ask me to change that. So here it's going to say for the U.S. overall, beginning quarter employment counts, it's just our default right there. And if you want to know, as far as these different indicators that you're looking at that are listed, well, these different ones here, all you have to do is click over this little question mark icon, and it'll tell you, it'll define exactly what you're looking at, that specific indicator. And here you can see that in this graph, you've got these different line charts that if I hover over, will actually highlight in the table below. Right? And the legend, the corresponding color boxes here, basically serve as the legend or the different age groups that you see within this chart itself, this line chart. So whether I come over here and I highlight it, and you can see as I start to scroll down, there's another line that appears. And as I scroll further down to the third quarter here, I can do that. And if I click here, it'll take me there. I'll just show that area. You can also increase the way this chart view looks by using this inverted arrow here. You can just click there, and now my chart just got a lot bigger, and it's separated, giving me more separation. I can also increase the view. I can go full screen with the chart itself. And I can go ahead and escape out of that if I want to, just by using my escape button. For here, you can actually go and zoom into the quarters by using this feature right here, this button. So when I click there, now it's going to go by quarter, and then I just click over here to move this chart. This doesn't slide by all of you. You just have to move your arrow in front. And each dot here, I can click on to show in my table below for that specific age group if I want to. That's just some of the basic functionality that we're looking at. You'll notice that the x-axis is defaulted to quarters. I can change it to yearly averages. That was pretty quick. Let me do that again. So I was back in quarters, and I can change my x-axis to yearly averages. Now, the line chart is only available for these two types of analysis. If I select geography, if I go to states, something like that, it's going to ask me to switch to a map view. Okay, so keep that in mind. So the line chart, you're looking at quarters and yearly averages only if you want to do that. And over here in your group category, this will be your Y. This will be your, looking at your various columns, your Y-axis essentially, right? So we want to see, we're looking at age groups. We can change this to male and female by clicking sex right there. Then we can also look at education. And we can also look at race. Now you have selected categories here where I could just select any one of these or two of these or however many I want to look at just by unchecking or checking these boxes accordingly. So check all, check none, invert selection. That's an option there too. Okay. I can also click on my years and averages by 29 years selected going over here and unchecking any of the years that I'm not interested in getting data for. Okay. Same if I go to quarters, if I switch over to quarters and I select 20 quarters selected, it's the default. But I can come up here, if I uncheck this arrow, it's going to check or uncheck those boxes. If I click it again, now those boxes are all unchecked. Same thing up here. I can come in here, click that green arrow for year 2014, and now that whole column goes away. If I come up here to quarter one and I check that, press on that, click on that green arrow, now all those quarters are selected. So I can simply say, you know, if I just want, instead of quarter one, maybe I want all of quarter two, I'll go ahead and check that green box. I'm not interested in quarter three, so I'll uncheck that, maybe uncheck that. This could have some not availability here, so I'm going to go ahead and uncheck those boxes. There's no availability here, so I can uncheck those boxes too. So now I can go ahead and look at that data. And this is just for the quarters. If I click on my line again, I can see more detail over time. Use my arrow buttons here to go across the line chart all the way to the most current year. Or you can also go into your table as well. It's actually supposed to work. Not. So you might want to just use this arrow button here or use this button here to take you across. Now, wouldn't be much use if you couldn't actually download this information. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead and use this button right here, the Get Data button. This will give you different options to download the data that you're looking at. You can also share the information. You have a bookmark that will take you back to this data, how you've adjusted it in terms of the type of analysis that you're looking at. You can open it in a new tab or window, and of course you can share it on social media as well. You also have the ability to download, get the reports as a PDF. Okay. As far as your filters and aggregation, this can also serve as a type of legend to what you're looking at in your view, in your table view. But before I do that, I do want to show you how you can get all 32 indicators by going to your advanced settings. Because right now the default is only going to give you a handful of those 32 in all total workforce indicators. Okay, so this is just the default of sort of those most popular indicators that people are basically looking for firms, for employment, hires, and earnings. So here, if you go to the Advanced Setting button, you will be able to check the box where it says Show All Indicators, and then I'll go ahead and click Save. And what I'll most likely have to do is hit my back button because it's still not going to show those, even though I just checked that box, because in the advanced settings, it'll usually tell you, might give you that caveat where you have to go ahead and close and reopen. So, oh, there you go. Requires refreshing the application to take effect. So then if I come over here and I refresh my indicator tool, here we go. So now when I use my drop down, there's all my 32 indicators that I can select. So let's say I want to look at average monthly earnings. I can do that. I'm still looking at that quarter. by age. Of course, if I want to look at a bar chart, I can just click that bar chart here. Now I have a bar chart. Now, if I click on my map, it's going to ask me to look at specific geographies. So I can look at counties, I can look at metropolitan, micropolitan areas, and I can look at workforce investment areas. If I click on counties here, there it's going to give me the average monthly earnings by age groups for all industries, because here, even though it says none, we're looking at essentially the default of all industries. So we have 102 counties selected here. Again, you click there. I can select just the county I want to look at. It doesn't have to be all of them. I can come over here and select just the age groups I want. It doesn't have to be all of them either. And over here, you can see where you could then, on your map, click those arrows, and you'll get to those different age groups within your table. Right? You can also come over and highlight, zoom in, zoom out. You can see exactly which area. So I click on there, it's going to zoom right to that table and show me that age group. If I click here, you'll be able to get to that table pretty quickly. And then you can also toggle that legend on and off as well. Again, zoom in, get back to the other age groups you're interested in. Just like that. So what's neat is, if I go back to my x-axis, instead now looking at micropolitan area, metro micropolitan areas, and instead now maybe I want to look at industries. So maybe I'm going to go back to my bar charts, and now I want to look at NAICS sectors, whether it's just those two-digit primary NAICS codes, the main sectors, or the subsectors, or the industries. Right? I can go to those four-digit NAICS codes, or I can look at the two-digit. Let's go into that four-digit again. And what's great about this tool is you also have, you can see where you can, it's sort of not giving you a nice view there of the differences here. So in terms of those various age groups. So here what I can do is click that arrow, which allows me to scale all values. So I can actually see the data. Okay, click that again, and it goes away. So now you can see over here to the left in our filters and aggregation, we're only looking at that 2018 quarter one. Okay? I can go ahead and make other selections just by checking that box. If I wanted to do that, unchecking it, I can add that second quarter, no data there available. And if it's not available, it's going to tell you why there's no data available. All right, so I'll go back and uncheck that box. And now it does give me that 2018 quarter one data. As far as geography, I can still come over here because we're looking at Illinois. So I can still go and look at other sort of geographies listed or select specific counties. Okay. You can also look at firm age. And it just will basically ask you to change or tell you that that data is not available for that particular quarter. So if I change this again, let's say instead of 18, go to 17. And now I will have data. So occasionally when you get an error like that, where you don't see data and you're selecting the most current quarter, perhaps just going in and selecting an older age, an older quarter as the error will give you, then you can go ahead and get the data. And we can still make other changes. If we want to look at, still looking at average monthly earnings by firm age and age groups, we can also look at, let's say, yearly averages for average monthly earnings for all industries. Let's say we don't want all industries, we want to select a specific industry. We can go ahead and select from our NAICS sectors here, whether it's a two-digit, if you go into three-digit, here's your three-digit codes. If you select four-digit, now you get into those four-digit codes. Okay, So you can select as many of these industries as you want to get data for, or you can simply look at one specific industry. So looking, all these different types of industries to see differences. So whether it's automobiles or manufacturing, clothing, retail, healthcare. If you go into those 2 digits, you'll see sort of all those different main industry codes that you can get further detail in. All right, so we go to, let's say, finance and insurance, for example, and click OK. We can see monthly average earnings by age groups for yearly averages. We can also go back to quarters again. And these are our default of 20 quarters selected. Maybe I just want to remove my 2018 and look at these last quarters from 2013 to 2017. Maybe I just want to look at these 5 years worth of quarters, in which case I'll click OK. And now I can see there's my bar chart. But remember, for the line chart, I can look at either yearly or quarter, so I can click back on my line chart there, icon. And now I can see these differences within age groups. And you'll notice that these spikes occurring for this specific type of industry doesn't always happen. Now, we cannot confirm or as far as where these spikes are coming from, but I will tell you that bonuses are included in this data. So just keep that in mind. And you can zoom to those quarters by clicking that arrow there, inverted arrow, and now you can actually see by quarter. Click back out, and you go back to that full view from 13 to 17. And let's say we want to look at differences. We're looking at just the age groups for quarters and average monthly earnings. For the state, of course, we want to change this. Let's say we change this to one of the states that I cover, like, let's look at Texas. We can do that. And we can come over here, and if we want to change this to looking at income between male and female, we can do that. So now you can see this is income for male. And we're looking at the sector of finance and insurance. This is the income for female. And if we want to go even further and add a control factor in there, we can do that by clicking worker characteristics. So here, instead of just looking at sex and age, we can actually look at education, and we can add something like a bachelor's degree or advanced degree as possibly a control factor in there. And now you'll see that we have pretty much the same looking bar chart, but we actually have added that this is for all those male and female workers that have a degree, bachelor's degree or advanced. Okay. So there's lots of really, really neat things that you can do. We go back to looking at the employment counts. So you have end of quarter hires, beginning of quarter separations, and all hires counts, and the term stable. So the term stable, just so you know, means that those that were hired at the beginning of the quarter were still employed at the end of the quarter. So when you see the term stable, that's what that word means. Okay. If we look at any of the new hires for employment, change, separations, etc., if we look at those stable counts, full quarter employment, you can see there the differences between male and female. Again, still the same control factor. You'll notice that as I make some changes to my indicator, it doesn't change anything that I've already sort of solidified here as far as my analysis is concerned. I'm still looking at the same 20 quarters. Oh, no, it did change my quarters there. Which wasn't supposed to. So I'm still looking at those quarters I select, but I am still looking at the differences of male and female with that worker characteristic, that education or attainment characteristic that I added sort of as a control factor there. Okay, and now I can also normalize the data. So I'm not just looking at the numbers, but I can actually look at by percent as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of great functionality here within this tool. And if you want to get to see all the different tools that we have available. You can simply go ahead where it says LEHD Home right here in this data tool. If you click there, it's going to open up a new tab, and you're going to get to our LEHD main web page, which will show you the new PSEO tool and post-secondary employment outcomes tool. It's in its beta form. So you can click on that and check that new tool out. If you want additional information in regards to any of these different data tools that we have from the LEHD LED program, you can just simply click on these tabs that you see here. You can click on applications. There's going to be some more you're going to see more help and documentation available for these different data tools. And of course, there's that LED extraction tool. So as we looked at in the QWI Explorer, there's lots of fun you can have looking at the different visualizations and being able to map this information out and look at the bar charts and look at the line charts. You can also, of course, create these great reports in this tool, download the data directly, however you conduct your analysis. Now, in this LED extraction tool here, you can get the same exact quarterly workforce indicators at the national, state, and county level simply by clicking on checking these boxes that you see here. So if I come over and say I go to Hawaii, and we're going to see only 6 counties listed there. 5 counties listed there. So you have the state and then the counties that are available. So any of the states that you select, I'll come over here. Another handful of counties, of course, come over and click down, go further. Texas, we're going to see a whole lot more counties available that I can get data for. And you can just simply click on these different micropolitan areas, workforce investment areas as well, as you can see that are listed. Once you make your selection, then you go into your firm characteristics tab right here. So number 1, it's selecting your geography, creating that framework. Once you build your framework, go into firm characteristics. Now you can actually click on the 2-digit NAICS codes. You can then or select the 3 or the 4, go into your worker characteristics, check those. You can also drop down to education, sex and education, or race and ethnicity. And then you'll have your indicators. So employment is the first drop down we saw. You can check that box, or you can drop down here. You can see those same definitions listed. You can also go into the quarters and select which quarters you want to see. Maybe just one of that 2017. And you can go into summary and export, which will then say, okay, number of rows, this is the size file, the size of the zip file, and the runtime. So it'll take us, submit my request, and it'll tell me less than a minute. My results will come here, and then I'll be able to download directly. So you don't actually have to go into the visualization tool here. You can go right into the LED extraction tool and just get the data that you want specifically without any of the visualization. So with that, I'm going to once again open up the lines for questions, and let's see.
The conference is now in talk mode.
Let's see if anyone has any questions now. So does anyone have any other questions in regard to the QWI Explorer tool? Okay. Well, I know you guys must be eager to get off the webinar and jump right into this tool as soon as it's over, I'm sure. And but like I said, the recording will take a little while to process and post to the Census Academy website. So, but once it is, we'll get it up there. And however, the presentation shouldn't take that long to get posted to the website. Should be posted by the end of the week. And if you have any questions, you can, of course, feel free to contact me directly. And let me go ahead and put my contact information back up there for you all. There you go. So that is my contact information, as well as that 1-844 Ask Data email that you can use, or 1-844 Ask Data phone number you can use. And you can also use that email as well. So You guys will be able to go to Census Academy and access this presentation directly. I will also shoot it out to all of you who have participated today with an evaluation form. That link that will take you to an online evaluation form, and we always appreciate your feedback. So if you could respond to that, that would be great. The last thing I'll do before I sign off is ask Erlene, do you have anything you want to add as far as our webinar today?
I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for doing such a great job, and if anyone would like to get in touch with me as well, they can do that too.
Okay, I will share Erlene's contact information, her email, when I send out the presentation to everybody that participated today, so you'll be able to reach out to her. She is a subject matter expert that can definitely answer some of those more technical, in-depth questions that maybe I can't answer. But thank you, Erlene, for being on here today. I appreciate it. And everyone, thank you all for joining us today. That will conclude our webinar. Have a great day.